Hey guys, TheRealTron here, otherwise known as Jaden Orth, and I am joined, as always, by the voice of Cersei and our artistic director, Julia Ristow, for our second commentary playthrough for Our Dying World.
Hello, everyone.
It's been a while since we've done our second one, so we thought with the Steam Next Fest coming up, we'd do it again and go over a lot of the changes, what's coming up in the future, etc., etc., because there's a lot to talk about for the future of Our Dying World now that we're slowly wrapping up Act 2, which leaves only the third and final act before the full release, so it's a good time to update everyone and go through it again and commentate on all the changes we've made. So without hesitation, let's just jump into it.
And truly, a lot of things have changed, so...
Yeah, I looked back at the old one we did before doing this one, and it's like a completely different game at this point. It's just so crazy how far we've come. I think in this one, we're not going as far. I think we beat the whole demo last time.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has been overhauled, and it's a lot bigger and meatier and thicker.
Sometimes
so
life can seem really unfair.
We're only going to go to the end of Chapter 1 for this one, but that's fine. Leaves a lot to be explored by you guys.
It may seem
exactly,
like no
and it gives
you
the opportunity to go back into the demo, re-download it, and wishlist it while you're at it, and experience the changes for yourself, because it does look and feel like it has even more polish than it did before.
Oh yeah,
it's to ignore that voice.
You're able to tell just immediately upon booting it up.
But what worked
and not
for
just
me
like bug fixes, new
work
features,
for
like pretty much like everything has been overhauled.
For instance,
Like you may notice the art
you
immediately like has been
should have
upgraded.
listened to that
Julia's been
voice.
hard at work. Even though she's finished some pieces, she'll go back just to make them even better for you guys. So that's
well,
always...
and
no matter
between the two of us, this has been like a learning process and a growing process, and I'm a hobby artist at the end of the day, so I'm only capable of so much, but I've grown so much as an artist through this process and like over the literal years that it's taken to make this project that I feel like some of my older art I needed to go back and update. And so that kind of has happened as I get better and become a better artist.
Hey Max,
so,
are you awake?
I mean, it's the exact same thing for me as a game developer and writer, obviously, and we've had a lot of talks personally
I know.
about the story going forward, and we've made a lot of changes, especially if you look and go way back to the earlier demo. So much has changed in terms of writing.
That's right.
Had a lot of in-depth, super long discussions that spanned like sometimes even like I think one was even like 7 hours, just going over like every detail of the story and redoing it like completely, like the old demo.
Then everything changes.
Had 4
just
out
taking
of the 10
a look
chapters.
Yeah, I mean, just taking a look at what we had and being like, okay, how can we condense this? Not so that it's broken up more, but let's take what we loved about this and improve upon it, rather than keeping in a bunch of the stuff that wasn't really necessary for the plot. Like, just because we liked something doesn't necessarily mean it got to stay in, which is unfortunate sometimes, because there's a lot of stuff that we like to put into our projects, etc., that mean a lot to us. But sometimes you can't leave everything in.
Yep, I mean, yeah, I mean, can't help but agree. Like even the menu, for example, it's gone through so many changes. It's crazy to see how like good the full bodies look, even compared to like just a year ago. Like these, I think this is like the 3rd or 4th version they've had, and I wanted to say, even though she says like, oh, it's like, you know, like you want to update your art and everything, I think it really shows a lot of like dedication to our audience, and I think that's one of the reasons why even though all our voice actors are volunteers, for example, so many of them have stuck with this project through years and years, and a lot of them have said, like, yeah, it's just because like a lot of other projects in the same like situation, I would have left, but like we've shown like so much dedication that they have a lot of faith in this project that they believe it's worth sticking around for years, which is just, you know, so heartwarming
and crazy. Like,
yeah.
they're legitimately insane, and I love them for it.
Yeah, you included because you were, you know, one of the first as well.
Yeah, I was
Right.
originally brought on as a voice actor in the beginning, and then I just kind of
overslept
sort
by a
of
minute. So
kept
what?
taking on roles as they were needed, and now I am what I am.
You're in too deep now, kiddo. You're...
Uh-oh.
It's been an hour.
A minute, an hour, same thing.
It's not... Never mind. I'm not going to argue.
For the full release, I think the Riker fan
Anyway,
art
I came to
and
tell you that
Zephyr,
Emma wanted us to meet in the
it'll
church.
be hard
And
between the
Chief
two,
Isaac wanted to
like
give you
picking a
something
favorite.
too.
But I think that's one of the things I'm excited to see most.
Really? What
Is
did he
the
want to
fan
give
art
me?
for the game?
Yeah, I can die happy if like someone makes one trashy like fan cam of like one of them.
No clue. But it would be a good idea
You mean
to
like
go
one of
see
those
him
like
and then meet us in the
cut up
church.
like
After
slideshows
that, we
where
can
it's like
finally
sexy
get
music
moving.
and then
Yeah.
it's pictures of the character.
And then like them speaking. Yeah, that's all I want.
You heard it here first, folks. Somebody go
Yeah.
ahead and make that. You don't have to wait until the game's over. You can do it now. Hey, oh, are you okay?
It wasn't a bug. It wasn't a bug. Okay, so to clarify, we may or may not be on the latest patched version. So if there are any, there shouldn't be any.
Wait, was
any
Riker not
bugs.
supposed to be standing there just like staring
no,
at your
I don't,
door?
I don't know what happened.
Well, while he's preoccupied looking at our door, you should go check out his house.
Oh, true. That is true. So in the latest
We've
version
expanded,
as well, Sart
yeah,
has been
the whole first map.
expanded. There's a lot of new people to see, new war to get, and then right by this guy who has had an unfortunate accident to his eye. We have Riker's house. He's depressed. You can just ignore him though.
Poor guy.
Yep. And there's a few secrets to get in here.
Fun fact, if you have Riker in your party and you don't check on his house before you get him in your party, you cannot go in because he will stop you.
Yeah.
So you must go now.
Mhm. And we could explore the basement, but we'll leave that to someone else to find. I don't want to give off all the secrets, but just a little fun fact.
Just the little things.
Yep.
Not everything.
Fun fact about this character as well, there's a lot of characters in the game now that are actually our Kickstarter backers, including this lady here, who I believe this particular backer wanted his wife to be in the game, and wanted, let me just make sure. Yep, he wanted his pregnant wife to be in the game, and I actually matched her outfit like perfectly. That like he sent, and he was really happy about that, so that was really sweet.
And that's a really fun way to interact with our community and just because of the nature of RPGs, there's so many NPCs that you have to fill different cities and towns with. It's a really great way to interact with the community, and it was a great Kickstarter option for those people.
Yeah, I honestly think I would not be surprised if I see more in like bigger games, like even offering that do Kickstarters, because there are so many, like you said, like NPCs that just spout like random things, like I'm going to fish today. Like, okay, thanks, George. Yeah, so like we're walking by. You can make them more interesting, even just by like what we did is like giving backers like their own little like place in the world with like little tiny stories that they like request. And there's a few other quests that are based off that are already in that some of the backers have requested.
Ones like, and I don't know if this one's in the demo, it's probably coming in the next couple chapters, but like my parents have one.
Yep.
So that was the way that they wanted to support me and us in the project, and they have a little NPC side quest, which is so cute. And the school is new too, which is really
Yep.
cool.
You can find some more here, some little background on Max and Riker before.
In the future, I was gonna ask you that map in the schoolhouse. You don't have to go back. Will we? I guess this is a good question that I have. Do you want a world map for Elorant?
Well, that's something we talked about before.
Mhm.
I sent you like a rough overview, and even
Yep.
for I definitely think we should. Well, I don't even
Okay.
can't even play my own game. I was trying to go to the church first.
I am putting that in my notes of things I need to do, because
Yep.
then that's a really cool thing that we can put right there, is people can see the world for what we know it as, right at the beginning, should they wish. Because, not everybody goes and clicks on everything, but
Yep.
when I play a game like an RPG, I do.
Yep,
If
and
anything's interactable, you bet your ass I'm finding it.
Yeah,
You wanted to see me, Chief Isaac?
and then we can even throw in some cool things like
Oh,
Max or
Max,
Riker.
you're fine- and
that would be
yes,
cool
that's
if you have
right.
Riker with you. For
I
example,
wanted to give you something before you
he
take
could
the
comment
Avengers
on
test.
a future area you'd go to in the game while
Mhm.
looking at the world map. Just things like that
Here it is.
Yep.
are really important for exploration.
This
which
compass
is,
was mine when I was your age. It has helped me find my way
There are a
many
lot of
times over
things
the
that
years.
people tend to like about this game, but the one we hear over and over, there's two. It's the voice acting, which it makes sense because our actors are so talented.
Now,
And two is the
I'm hoping
exploration,
it'll do the same for you.
which I'm really happy about. Like the way the maps are designed
Wow.
and how
Thank
many
you
like little
so
secrets
much.
there are.
Don't mention it. It was the
So
least I
just
could do.
Keep to just keep adding things like that.
I can't stop you
feels
from
really
going down
important.
this dangerous path,
Yes.
but I feel like I
And
can
the,
make it
um,
just a little bit safer.
The map exploration
Now then,
too, I know,
I
is
guess
something
you
that
should
you
get
worked
going.
really hard on. So it's cool
Good
to
luck,
see people
Max.
commenting
I'll be
about stuff
rooting
like
for you
that
too.
that we have really put a lot of time and effort in. So to see that come across in that way is really good.
Yep. It was really cool hearing too on like the RTP podcast, for example. It's good to know. I'll tell a lot of new developers that are just starting, especially RPG Maker ones, because they're the ones that do typically start off very, very early. When you're getting feedback, it's very, very important to listen for one, obviously, and not just shut it all out. But it's important to recognize who's giving you
Welcome,
feedback,
young disciples.
and it's important to recognize how that player plays games. So if you can do a little background on them,
So
that's
what
so
did you wanna show
important.
us?
So if you find like a player like
Oh,
Julia, for
yes.
example, that explores like every nook and crevice in your game,
Crystal.
and especially in RPGs,
Not just any Crystal Riker.
and
Oh,
they
wait,
say,
wait,
"Oh, well, I
Ristow."
didn't miss anything." That's good. That means like they explored. But if you want something that 99% of players are going to find immediately, she would be a bad resource to
Since
like
our
listen
village
to,
was
because like
finally
she'll find it.
recognized as
Like
being big
no matter
enough,
how hidden
the
it
church
is,
has
she'll find
granted
it.
us one of these.
You want to find a player that'll just like breeze through everything and won't explore, and like if there's an encounter you want them to see, you have to place it in front of them, and you have to find a way.
Waypoint crystals allow someone to teleport to other waypoint crystals.
I think
if
that's
they've
really
already
important to remember
encountered
too
them.
about criticism. Not to
If you
slide
find a
over
decently
that, but
populated area with the church, you're most likely going to find a waypoint crystal.
as creators, it's
that
really
means
nice
finish
to
taking the
hear a lot of
adventurous test in
feedback,
Cliffwood,
and it's
you can
so
just use their
easy to
crystal to
take
come back
that
here.
feedback, especially if it's
So,
more on the
is that
negative
all?
side, if it's more on the constructive side, to take that and hear,
So is
oh,
that,
they're talking about something that I made. This is my baby. I'm super sensitive about it. I'm just going to disregard everything they say. Well, they have problems with it for a reason. So you really have to, and it's hard, but you have to distance yourself from your work and be like, okay, they're saying this because this is their experience, and I can't discredit that because that's how they experienced it. Maybe it's not how I experienced it. But then you have to be able to be like, okay, this criticism, I can see where they're coming from, and I know that I can adjust it so that everyone has a better experience overall. Versus, oh, well, that's not what I think, so I'm just going to discredit them. No, you have to look at it from a growth perspective, which is so hard to do when you have something that you're super passionate about.
Mhm.
Like, I struggle to hear criticism about my art specifically because it's my passion and it's, my art's my baby, and I struggle with that. But I like hearing criticism and to be able to say, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I understand why you think that, but I do this for a specific reason, and so I don't think that criticism is enough to warrant me changing that. That's how you kind of pick and choose what you pay attention to. But it's important to hear it at least. Like, don't disregard something someone's saying just because your first reaction is like, oh, well, that's mean, so I don't care what you say.
Yep, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's two things I want to say in that really quickly. One is, like I was saying, how I was speaking to newer devs. A lot of them will say, okay, well, this player does not like this mechanic. They just won't like my game then. Like, if you don't like this aspect, you just won't like what I'm making. And I hear over and over, my game just isn't for them. But what a lot of people don't realize, even big developers I see saying this, but there's a lot of ways where you can tweak things to make it more inclusive in a sense. So maybe that's not the correct word, but you can
make it more accessible for a wider variety of audiences.
Yep, you can tweak things and add in things where you're not even like tampering the core experience at all, and you'll make a wider, like, it's like casting a bigger net, you'll get a bigger audience. Like, one of the things, one of the most recent criticisms we've gotten that was all over the place, I got like so many people saying, dude, like, you do not have to listen, when it came to chapter 1 pacing, what I realized is people that just breezed, like a lot of people breezed through it and did not have a problem with it, and the other half got so caught up in exploration they kind of forgot what the main plot was, which is on one hand really good that they just immediately got sucked into the gameplay loop and they just lost track of time. That's really good, but the downside to that was people were getting lost in the story, and then some did not make it to the big exposition where you find scene at the start of chapter 2, where you figure out like what's going on here. So I was told, like, well, you can just kind of leave that there. But the solution we came to is adding in more heart-to-heart events in those exploration areas that, like, not completely, like, give you way more exposition, but that, like, gradually build them to it. So they're reminded of, like, what the characters are up to, what they're thinking right before that big reveal, to drip feed them, so they don't feel like it's all at once or anything like
disjointed from the original story if you get off track.
Yeah.
It's there as like a reminder. So that's a way to incorporate feedback. Like, yes, we could have looked at the entire first chapter and rewritten it, sure, but not only is that creating a ton of work for us when it's just the two of us working on this, but also we still stand behind the story that we wrote in chapter 1. So it's like, how can we take this feedback and adapt it to meet the needs of the person who's saying, hey, I'm struggling with this aspect, while also not compromising what we've created already.
Yeah, exactly. And especially in a game like this, where another thing that's hard for just developers in general is, if you're also writing a story, is the gameplay has to match. So finding ways where you can convey a story you want to tell in a game format is very, very hard. So even just rewriting and adding more wouldn't even necessarily fix the problem, because it wasn't a unique experience that people were having. It was a small experience that some players were having, just depending on how long they took to get through the exploration. Because as soon as you leave Sarton, you're free. You can go everywhere. You can go to the end of the map and find some secret bosses, or you can just run straight to the main story. I've seen players do both. And those experiences are going to be very different. So it's just finding ways to accommodate that second player's experience that is really important. And I know that we've been on this for a bit now, but the last thing I wanted to say is, you were talking about your art and some of the changes like we just have to make. I know noses have been brought up a lot, and and that's just one of those things. Like, it's just simply the art style, you know. You can't please everyone. That's another important lesson. Like, I'm
not gonna please everyone with my art style, and that is an artistic choice that I make. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's what I like, and it makes me happy. So.
Yep, and it's not like dismissing any criticism. It's literally just how the style is, and a lot of artists have small things like that. in all their works. Like the like imagine how like the Hades artist like draws their like particular like character portraits and how it's very stylized. I'm sure there's some people that may not be too big of a fan of that style. Not to say they're one-to-one comparisons, but it's just that type of example.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And it's also
Yes,
just
that's
personal
all.
preference, and I think it makes my art different. And some people might not like that, and you know what? It took a long time, but I am okay with that. I am perfectly fine with that.
It's actually a blessing in disguise, maybe, because I've seen so many other games come out, especially RPG
Jeez,
Maker
does
games.
he have to be such a jerk?
Because sorry, just laughing at the Fishy, the VA for Emma's performance, because this is like
Yeah, but she does a good job.
so many people love this scene. I lost my train of thought, but
You were talking about how other games have come out, and
Right, yeah,
a lot
so-
of the art styles seem very similar, and
Right,
so
right,
it's easy
right.
to get
So,
kind of lost in the sauce.
so these tiles, for example, are not custom made, because getting entirely, there's a lot of like custom edits, and we make it our own in a lot of ways, but it's not like entirely hand built by us, obviously. So you'll see other games looking similar in terms of this, but with Julia's unique art style, because no other art really looks like hers. You can immediately just look at like a screenshot from this game and be like, oh, that's Our Dying World. But a lot of other games
You know
coming
how
out
it is
recently,
about this
RPG
stuff.
Maker games, it's
He's wanted
hard
to be an adventurer
pinpointing like
for
where they're from,
forever.
because it is like the standard and our game is very anime inspired. But if we went for like a very anime look, it'd be a lot
Yeah, I
harder
guess.
pinpointing our game just immediately, like visually.
Well, if he wants
Yep.
to storm out, that just means he'll miss out on this.
And you mentioned
What's this?
Fishy's performance. Literally everyone does such a good job with their voice acting.
It's a crafting book.
And that's
I know I
definitely a
can't fight,
pull of our
but-
game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm determined to continue that through all of our chapters.
I don't want to just sit
our
here doing nothing.
Voice
I
actors
want
do
to
a
be
really
able
good
to help
job
people.
at, despite the fantastical
I've been
elements in the
practicing making
script,
potions,
all
but I
of the
can't
stuff
be
that
with you
might
all the
seem
time,
a
so
little
I think
anime
you should start
inspired,
making
they
some
do
too.
such a good job at bringing such a human performance to the
It'll be
game.
really helpful for you.
Yeah, it's
I have
like I
some
said earlier,
ingredients,
it's one
so
thing we're
why
praised
don't
on
you try
really
making a small
heavily.
health potion?
And not to say we started the trend of RPG Maker voice acting games, because there have been others in the past. If you just happen to look at the popularity of them, like the amount created, I think there's a spike right after this started getting quite popular. It looks that way to me, at least. Maybe I just happen to notice it. Nah, I'll have an ego. We did it. We started it. It was all us.
I choose to have an ego in this moment. This is
Yep.
ours.
And that's and speaking of crafting, players, you're gonna finally keep the book. Emma relinquishes it to you. So many people got confused. I decided just to bite the bullet, and you know what? You can buy the future books. We'll give you the first
Huh.
one for free.
That wasn't too hard.
And see,
Yeah, all the basic
that
stuff
was
is
something
easy
that
if
a
you get
lot of
crafting book of your own.
people who played the game
Be
was
sure to
like,
look out
wait,
for
how
cover books in shops too.
how did you-
The more things
wh-
you learn
eh?
how to craft, the better.
you know, like they thought they had the book.
Mhm.
And so it's just such an easy fix to make. And so it makes you wonder like why
So,
that was
are
the
you sure
hill
you don't want to come
we
with us,
chose
Emma?
to die on for so long. But it's little things like that we're trying to teach people
Yes.
how to play the
I've
game,
made up my
Yeah.
and that they have to purchase crafting books if they want upgraded recipes. But there's other ways to go about that. So it's just
kind of
finding
life
that
just isn't for me.
middle ground.
Mm-hmm. And the solution was, well, people are just going to see the later crafting books in the shops anyway. They can learn it like later,
You
like
remember how to
immediately
get to
when you get to
Cliffwood,
Cliffwood,
right?
you'll see a book on how to craft stones, and you could be like, oh, well,
Of course. It's just directly south
I'll just
from
buy
here.
that. And then they see more and more crafting books, and they teach them. The tutorial is like hidden in a sense. Like they kind of teach themselves
Right.
to where
I
it's
don't know
not
why I
even
was
like
worried.
necessary, where you have to. And Emma literally says, look out for other crafting books.
Good
So
luck.
if someone was paying attention, they'll figure it
So,
out.
are you
It's all
ready?
good.
Yeah. Better to head out while we still have daylight.
And speaking of, you said keeping the performances at a high bar. I don't know about you. I cannot wait till I know only a select few will actually get to play Act 2 before the full release. but I'm so excited for everyone to see all the new VAs and their performances. I will
We've
say
added some incredible people to our
Yeah.
roster. And
it's been hard keeping my mouth shut and like sharing scenes to the public because some of them are so good. I'll say everyone, we got so lucky again. It's like there was a perfect match. We had what, over like 300, it was like 304 auditions or something, or 314.
yeah, it was over 300.
Yeah, an insane amount of auditions, which is the most we've ever had.
Which, thank you to our
Yep.
community for that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Very awesome.
And
to
as
see.
much as I would have loved to given roles to quite a few of them,
Hey,
obviously
Max,
you have to
before the
whittle it down
adventurers
to
test,
the
it might
best
be a good idea
person
to
that
spar with
fits
each
the
other as a
character.
warm-up.
But the people that we did get, like you were getting to, just incredible. I'm so excited to share their talent with everyone.
Mhm.
And they fit so well into our cast. Oh my word.
Yeah, it's I couldn't believe it. Like when we may have spoken a bit about it like when we were casting. I was like, like we have such a high bar. I am kind of worried like if we won't be able to reach it. And then they just immediately did. They reached the bar right off the bat. And there were a lot of other really great auditions too, I will say, that we did bookmark for Act 3 possible characters as well.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you still got a shot if you didn't get it. There's still a chance.
What do you think?
Yep.
And I think, did you say you did message a few saying like, oh, be on the lookout for
Let's not.
future roles,
We
I
should
think?
save our strength for the
Yes,
Or-
in
okay.
particular,
Mhm.
when it comes to the casting
Fair
directing
enough.
that I do,
Let's keep
if
moving.
people ask for feedback, that's when I give them feedback. I don't offer unsolicited feedback unless it's something atrocious. And I'm like, hey, this is kind of a voice actor faux pas. Please
Yeah,
don't do that.
there's very few times where you do that. It's only like if their mic
Yeah.
is like super loud or background noise. Like you'll mention, but you do
Or-
it so politely too. You're like, hey, just so you know, there is some background noise when there's like a jet engine like behind them. Like you used to do it in a
Yeah,
very nice
I'm
way.
just like, hey, maybe find, you can record in your car. Actually, cars are audio treated, so that's an option that I think a lot of beginners don't realize is they can actually start in their cars or walk-in closets. Clothes are a really great cheap voice dampener or like audio dampener. That's where I started, was in my closet. Believe it or not, Ripley's, that's trademarked. I should not say that. But yeah, so I try to offer advice when it's asked for. But there were a handful of people that we were like, oh my gosh, they have great voices. I don't have a character for them right now. But I did reach out to them afterwards and we're like, hey, we really like your voice and your acting, but right now we don't have a character for you. That being said, in the future we might have something, so if you'd like to be notified when we have another casting call, like just let me know and I'll make sure you're on a list. So that's, I mean, this is going on a little bit of a tangent, but as an actor, I can speak on that perspective at least. And somebody once explained it to me, and this is like the most like theater way of explaining auditions and stuff like that. But just because you have the cutest pair of like hot pink pumps doesn't mean they go with every outfit. Doesn't mean the shoe's bad.
Let's find out
It just
who's
means
stronger.
that it doesn't go with that outfit. So you got to find an outfit where it does go with in order to wear them. And that's true with auditions in any capacity. Just because you're not the right fit for that part doesn't mean that you're a bad actor. And that's something that I had to come to terms with because voice acting is a very competitive community. There's a lot of people. It's so much more accessible now. Like COVID was both a blessing and a curse because now at-home studios are more accepted in the community at Broad. But because home studios are more accepted, like just in general, it's super oversaturated with people now. So you really have to work at your craft and work hard and audition. Like keep auditioning. That's if anybody ever asks me like how do you become a voice actor? How do you get roles? Just never stop. Only audition.
Also, I will say, for one of the characters, talking about voice acting, one of the characters that we have in Act 2, with the voice actor that got them, I'll just say the character is Lust. The voice actor that got the role, their audition for Lust wasn't what's the word?
It just wasn't what we were looking for.
Yeah, it wasn't what we were looking for. But their audition on another character was exactly what we were looking for with Wes. So even if you're perfect for the part, you may just accidentally like take an approach that like wasn't what they were looking for, and then sometimes there's no way of knowing. But that definitely does not speak of your talent, because he, the voice actor that got the part, like absolutely owned it, just on a different character.
Yes.
So there are situations like
absolutely.
that. So you shouldn't, not to say like people can't, like you can't improve. I'm sure there's a lot of improving needed as you start your voice acting journey, but sometimes you actually do fit. It's just you don't go with the right correct take, which is why it's really important.
You might have
to
done
read.
goofed on the first time.
But that's also why
Which
it's
is
really
okay, it
important
happens.
for us as, you know, casting directors to make sure we make like it as clear as possible what we're looking for.
Yep. And there's, like I said, like I keep saying, like this is such a learning experience. I should mention, this is our first game.
Yep.
Like, I mean, you've made like joke games for your friends, but this is the first game that you're really taking seriously, and this is my first game ever.
Well, I
So,
wouldn't even count, you know, Canada Quest as a as a game. I made it in like 4 days. I don't think I did anything original. It was just, yeah, it was just basically playing around in the engine. Like, the first map I ever made was like a dick island, so.
No, not that. Anything but that.
Yeah, look, we've come a long way from the Canada Quest
From Dick Island?
Yeah.
Seems I've improved a bit.
Oh,
Like
man.
you entered like the like. Oh, this. I played Canada Quest on stream once, and
Putting yourself on blast on multiple occasions. Do go on.
yeah, well, I played it on stream once, and I was so embarrassed. I think I had to like turn off my face cam at one point. I was like, I can't do this, boys, and it was not even like tested. So like, I got locked. Like I got hard locked out of like the game. Like I couldn't progress because I just didn't have enough XP to like beat like one of these bosses. Like I never played it all the way through when I sent it to my friends. So it's just.
That's really funny. So you gave them an impossible game.
It's probably possible. I just do not have the willpower to get through it.
That's so good.
Yeah, look, it's rough, okay? Like, I will have... everyone has those moments where they're laying in bed, they remember something super embarrassing they did a long time ago, and they wake up, like, and then just ask why they did that. That's one of those things for me.
Canada Quest, forever remembered infamy.
Yeah, it's... Listen, if there is a hell, and I am subjected to it, I will just be forced to play that game for eternity. That's what it will be.
Canada Quest forever.
Yeah.
It'll be called, like... That's what it'll be called, is Canada Quest forever. But
yeah.
instead of forever spelled out, it'll be the number 4 and then ever.
Oh, it's like, yeah, super edgy. Like, there's like blood on the title screen.
Oh yeah, RGPS type humor throughout the entire thing.
I think there was. I think there honestly was. Oh my gosh.
I vaguely remember you showing me one clip of Canada Quest, and aside from that, I just don't remember. But
the whole plot was like, one of my best friends, Xavier, was dating this one girl from Canada, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if we just like shit all over that country?
No.
Because she's like the evil
Great way
ruler
to
of
alienate your fan base.
it. No, they would have loved it.
Sure, keep telling yourself that, friend. The guild receptionist, oh my gosh, she's come such a long way too. She's a surprising fan favorite.
Yeah, which I will say, you get to see her again in Act 2, guys, so be prepared.
She does, in fact, come
Other
back.
person is here to take the
She might
test.
even have a name now. You never know.
She might have
If
a
you're
name.
lucky.
It'll probably... Do you think we should update
Isn't
the
this
guild
test kinda
receptionist's
nerve-wracking?
name
No.
for the beginning of the game?
No, she's just a guild receptionist. Because
I
no
see, I
one
see.
thinks she comes back.
I mean, not that
Unless they
I'm
watch
afraid of
this.
failing
Then they,
or anything.
Unless they
know.
watch
I
this,
know
and then
I'll
they'll
pass
know.
this thing.
Yeah, but
What
Spoilers.
about you? Oh, I'm Max, by the way.
I didn't want to
and
spoil this,
is
but
Riker.
since we're on the topic, I will say Max is also in Chapter 4.
Oh,
Please don't involve
Yeah.
oh,
my
how
father
could
in this
you,
matter.
Yeah.
dude?
I didn't want to
No.
say this either, but Riker is also in future chapters.
Ah, damn it,
I
guy!
know.
You can't keep. Stop it!
I know it's hard. It's hard to shut up sometimes. You just get so excited.
Next thing you're gonna
Uh-huh.
tell me is that Ashton's in chapter 4.
No, he's dead.
Ashton.
Okay,
That's
good.
my
Good to
name.
know.
Sorry for the wait, everyone.
Ashton
She is
was
so
act-
cute, though.
Yeah, she is. Ashton's actually just 6 Russians in a trench coat, bundled
Oh.
up.
It's only you three.
3 urchins.
Ahem.
The top one is Benjamin Button.
Mhm. It's actually it was really cool seeing like who became fan favorites, because obviously when we're writing, we're like, oh, we really like this scene, we really like this character, we hope they become the fan favorite. But I definitely was not expecting the guild receptionist to.
Yeah, that was a blind side.
I think it's just because of the VA's performance.
It's
It's
true.
the policy, of course.
Like she just has like
She's got such a cute,
I know,
pleasant
like-
voice.
I know
Here
it's
at
such a
the
good fit.
Adventurers Guild, you can take on quests to earn a great living. S-rank adventurers make more than even kings. Along with making an absurd amount of money, anything you find in a dungeon is yours to keep, given that it's not something you were set out to obtain. If money isn't your thing, we also provide information about monsters encountered.
The one nice part about like reworking some earlier areas, it's not as bad to play through
Above all else, our quests
Yeah,
will make you
that's true.
stronger.
because.
And I
as-
mean, this
Now
whole.
then, why don't
Well,
we
you
begin?
mentioned earlier the first iteration
To
of the
start,
game.
Please place
so
your hands on
different.
this
I'll never
crystal
play that
Like,
again.
literally-
I'll never play that. I will
Literally
not
so
even.
This
different.
will show us your NPR.
The
or
writing
magical
was-
power rating.
I don't want.
Do I dare?
With
Do I
this, we
dare
can
tell
assign
them
you a rank.
how you gave me the
Our ranks
script?
go from the low E rank
Yeah, talk
all
about
the way
it.
to the
It's a good
godly
story.
M
Yeah.
rank. Come
Well,
on and step right
So
up to find out
essentially,
your rank
when
in
I was first
NPR.
brought on as a voice actor, I auditioned for the role of Rena and didn't get it.
Yep.
So I was like, oh man, kind of sucks. I thought this might be interesting, whatever. But then I got a DM from Jaden basically saying, hey, I'm not casting you as this character, but I have this other one that I didn't put in the casting list that I really think your voice
Wait, did I
fits.
not
Can you
even
just-"
put her in the casting?
No, she wasn't in the original cast. She wasn't in the original casting call.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you were just like, wait, hold on, I've got this one for you. Try here, just send me some lines like this, and I did. And you were like, oh, yep, that's it. You get Cersei. There you go. Wasn't even an official cast. It was a DM cast. But when he first sent out scripts, I was expecting, like a script, some Google Doc or something.
I'm sure.
No, I got screen recordings of the game. And I'm not bashing on your writing.
Listen. You can say that first version was dog shit because we all know it. We all know it.
Yeah, and
you
it
can
also
just-
didn't help that every form of your and their was the wrong form.
It's so bad, dude. It's so.
But if I go back in my DMs, I can find it. I'm like, yep, there's the
I
first
nope. I
recording.
found them. I deleted them. I deleted them off of.
No,
I couldn't. I'm sorry. They were unlisted.
I'm pretty sure I have them saved somewhere.
Oh no, knowing you probably do. But
Hey, it's good to look back on and see where we've come
That's
from.
true. I want to make not like a tiny mini documentary thing going over because it's such a cool story. I think. But I remember it's not even when I sent out scripts. You're being a little bit generous. You mentioned hey, about that script, and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of important, huh? And I didn't because I made listen, I am the biggest cautionary tale. You guys have no idea of when it comes to voice acting.
What not to do.
Yeah,
There you go.
I've saved so many projects by so a lot of people will come to me after seeing the voice acting in this game and being like, I want to get into it. I'm gonna do this. And I'm like, stop, you fool! Don't make my same mistake.
Don't do it.
I'm like, listen, get a script, make sure it's grammatically correct. Cause I casted the first round of voice actors with the single thought, I think voice acting would be kind of cool. And that's not fair. That's not fair to the voice actors, okay? It's really not. Especially if you go the volunteer route, you want to be as professional as you can and make sure everything is in tip-top shape, which we are in now. It took a while.
Yes.
But luckily, yeah, I
And
say it all the
speaking-
time. I'm so lucky. Julia was among the first and was super patient with me. Otherwise, like we would not be here. I'll just say.
Well, because the problem is, and this is coming from the voice actor's perspective,
I forgot to
there are
mention,
so many projects
find
where
your
you walk
NPR
in on,
too
and you
low,
hear this
you'll be
countlessly now
denied
from
any
all of our
rank since
VAs,
it's deemed
but
Yeah.
you'll walk into a
dangerous for you to
project,
take
they
on a
won't
quest.
have anything for you upon the get-go, and then
So,
it sits in
who's
stagnation for months, and then the writer or the creator just disappears, you don't hear from them, and then suddenly the project's deleted, you didn't hear boo
Oh,
from
come
them,
on.
and now it's just
No
gone
one's
forever.
willing to be first?
Like, that is common in the volunteer area, and sometimes even the paid area of voice acting on the internet. Which really sucks. So it's so important when you come into a
guess I'll be
project like
first.
this, like you have
That's
to
the
be
spirit.
committed. Like, this is what the writing is. This is our story from start to
Your
finish, and I have
NPR
work
is
for you right away,
73.
so I can show you
Is
that
that
I'm not
good?
wasting your time.
I'm sorry, but you didn't
Yeah,
qualify.
one of the most heartbreaking things is learning from even like a lot of our voice actors are like they do a lot of paid gigs, learning that it's not just common, but it's the norm. I heard like most
Yes.
we had a discussion recently. Most were saying it's around 80% projects are dead. And
Yep.
that's just it's so heartbreaking, especially because of how much we've worked on this, and it could have very well been a dead project if you and I like didn't like
What?
like really like
Focus.
sit with our heads down and work on it. And
Made it a priority
Some kind of
in
mistake.
our
I was sure I would
workflow,
make it.
etc., to create something that not only is going to last, but
Mhm.
also continues to provide work
I'm
for
sorry, but the crystal
for
ball
these
is never
actors.
wrong, and you need to have an NPR
Yep, and-
of at least
well,
80 to
actually,
become an adventurer.
that's the thing. It actually may have gotten done, but with the first version, although it's been like it was all voiced too. One of the first versions that had like where it ended with like killing envy. That was like 40% of the game, but like because it wasn't up to par, like a lot of our voice actors did not play that version, and the reason is just straight up like they're super nice about it. It was bad, and I would like they gave it their
So I'm
all in their
afraid-
performance, but it's
Can he try again?
I don't think the earlier version, although it surprisingly didn't get like shit on, which is the people still found it fun. I think just because the gameplay was fun, but the actual like quality of it, like the story, which is so bad. It's been really cool seeing us like completely remake
Let him
it from the
try
ground
again.
up
But
almost.
this time he'll use
And
his
then
left hand.
like gaining the confidence from the voice actors like that weren't interested in it earlier, and you could tell. And like I said, like I understand 100%. I'd be in the same position, but making this game like something they can be proud of as well is so important, I think.
I don't see why not.
And I mean,
But
even after
simply
chapter
changing
1
what
was
hand
done
he
and our
uses
demo
won't
was
change the
released and the
result.
Kickstarter was backed fully,
that
like
was
200% more than
like
what we had expected.
256%. Yeah, is what we
Yeah, that's
Go ahead.
insane.
Mhm.
But then like we got an IMDb page and now everything's super official, and it's like I have to go in to edit the IMDb
Just like
to
before,
give our new
your
actors
NPR
a
is
page, and some of our actors are relatively new,
173.
and so I'm creating a
This
credits
is
page for them, which is
Your
so
NPR
cool.
increased.
Like,
I
it's not
apologize for earlier. I
charity
don't know
work,
what happened.
right? These
Yeah.
people work super hard for these spots,
I qualify
and
now,
it's
right?
so deserved. And I hope
What
that
rank
this
am
is
I?
just a springboard for them to do great
Well, you
things.
did qualify now with this
Yeah,
NPR.
100%.
It's
Like
still relatively low, so you're in the middle of E rank.
it's sorry, it's just so cool seeing
Lowest
like
rank.
how
Huh.
far we've come.
That's right. But I bet if you
Mhm.
keep training, you'll be at D rank in no time. All right. Next,
We're Max.
Yeah,
Guess I'll go.
poor buddy.
your NPR is 376. This puts you near the top of D rank. Congratulations.
Only D rank?
I remember so many people made like tick jokes for
Yeah.
this.
That's higher than what I got.
It's
like a
just
challenge.
grading. It's
just grading.
It's just grading. General grading. Do you get a D on your report card and go, haha, D for dick?
376 is a pretty good ranking.
If you do, then maybe it
especially in
makes
these
sense
parts.
why you got a D.
What NPR do you
I was gonna
I'm
say
sorry
that.
if that's a controversial
Well,
take.
people with S rank are incredibly rare. Most only reach it after years of constant training.
And a little fun
The
fact.
rank.
Only 3 people have ever gotten S rank right off the bat.
And
What's
although
the
this is
fun fact?
also like super generic, before I get to the fun fact, it's cool seeing people immediately like kind of vibe with it,
Only 3 people ever.
because I know like a lot of
Like I said, it's incredibly
especially 'cause
hard
I've-
to get into S rank.
as I've gotten older, because we've been in this project for years now. I'm sure both of our tastes have changed slightly, and so the game is a little bit less shonen than
You
it like
need
it
an
was
NPR of
before.
At least 8,000.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's so I remember saying like because when I first started like the script and story, like the theme of like the 7 deadly sins was like still new, and I thought that was really cool. And then like same thing with like the Adventures Guild. I've seen it like both
Yep.
like once before, and then I was like, oh, they're in everything.
Yeah, all of a
So-
sudden you blink and it's like, there's an anime
Uh-huh.
about it.
which is I think a downside and a upside in this story, because a lot of the feedback we've gotten is like it starts off super standard, and like so people are just like, oh, okay, like a standard shonen thing. Like, yeah, I like the gameplay, but as they get more into it, they were saying like I remember several people mentioned to me like, I think it's really interesting how like it's hard to tell like who's the bad guy, and like they all seem to have like their own motives, and it's like, yep, because it's like it's actually planned out. Like there's a lot of thought put into it. Okay, it's
I promise you, it's
Yeah.
not just like I picked this trope because, haha, I like that. It
Yep.
might have started out as that, but it's developed so much since then.
exactly like even the whole NPR thing. The whole reason behind it is just because of like the format of the game. It's really hard to tell like how strong is the character, in like a 2D setting, like especially like with like simplistic like pixel art graphics, you know. It's hard to tell like without like making like an insanely crazy scene to where it would be over the top almost. You can just get
And
a
not
number
fit
and immediately
in
be
the
like, okay,
storyline.
yeah, this is like, okay, so this is like a big deal. Obviously you still have to show it off. You can't just be like, this guy's number is higher than this guy's number, and that means he's a big
Yep.
deal. You got to show it through performances, like animations, but it helps sell it immediately. You can get like a presence for it, and if you do that enough, when you're just given a really big number, you're like, oh dang, if you sell it properly, which is one of the
It's
geniuses.
an easy, quantifiable number that helps you understand the severity of difference between characters' abilities.
Yep, exactly. Thank you for summarizing that.
You're welcome.
I did.
That's why I am also the editor.
Yep. But the fun fact was like people are like, oh, you should have made it like 9,000 because of the Dragon Ball meme, and then people were saying
Yep.
actually it's 8,000.
Actually?
So they did that on purpose, and I was like, yeah, and then I didn't know it was actually 8,000 either. So
Well, because it was a translation error.
yeah,
It was originally
Unfortunately.
8,000 was
But
the
still,
number.
try your
It was
best.
over 8,000, but
yep.
translation error over 9,000. Blah blah blah. Blah.
But I just mean people are like, oh, I like how you actually like made it the correct number, like you were aware of the translation error, and it's like a Dragon Ball reference. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, but like I didn't know. That's just a coincidence.
An NPR of
You're like
8,000.
a happy little accident.
Yep, I took credit for it though. I was like, yep,
All
absolutely.
right. Let's see if I have what it takes.
Let's see. Your NPR is 1,284. Congratulations! That's the highest anyone has ever gotten at this guild hall.
So far through
With
this
that
scene,
NPR,
it's a
you
really
have
big
already
setup.
reached A
I
rank.
think 2 people have correctly guessed it, but one of them, big friend of the game, big friend of the stream, Pad, he guessed it, said no, that's not right, and then immediately guessed like 3 other theories, but the
Who is
first
this
one was
guy?
right. It's funny seeing him play in particular, because like the more he plays, the closer his theories get. Like one time he just completely guessed one of the biggest spoilers, and he's like, but no, that's not right.
This is.
That couldn't possibly be. And
Yeah.
Jaden and I were messaging each other like, ah,
Yeah.
Hey, don't say that.
screaming.
That NPR is still incredible.
But that's good.
But, it is good.
Mhm.
Because something in his intuition with our storytelling told him that.
Is no one happy with their ranking?
Which is, it could have been a Hail Mary, but like, I still think it's cool that he was able to surmise that. We're never going to clarify what it is until he actually gets to play the full game, but you know.
Yeah, he is going to be real proud of himself when he does get to it, though.
He deserves a cookie and a pat on the back because
Your
he's very
test
good.
is to clear a dungeon.
One theory,
To fully become an
I see a lot
adventurer,
though,
you have to clear a
is
dungeon
Riker
that the field is
and
prepared for you.
Zafriel are related.
Once
Have
you
you
do
seen
that, you'll be
anyone else
fully
say that?
fledged
Like, what are
adventurer.
your
No,
thoughts on
I have
that?
not.
Yeah,
That's an
Please
interesting
meet me at
theory.
Stone
Yeah.
Mountain.
I will neither
It's just
confirm
north
nor
of the Road
deny,
Tides.
but
You'll
Conform?
finish before you head over
Confirm.
there. It might be a good idea to stock up on supplies and gear up a little.
Sorry, can't help it.
no, I realized after it came out of my mouth. I'll neither confirm nor
An
deny.
adventurer should always be prepared.
I just think it's an interesting theory is all.
It is a very interesting theory.
Excuse me, Mr. Ashton.
Are there any other?
Mr. Ashton, please.
Are there any theories that people have said while playing that like you found cool in particular?
You can call me Ashton.
Nothing comes to mind when I think about
then,
it.
Ashton,
I
why did
haven't
you ask her if I could take the test?
I haven't noted anything that I was like,
Then I should
huh.
change hands.
So maybe I'll have to
An
listen a
MBR
little
73
closer.
just
Usually I'm looking for
didn't seem
typos when
right.
people are playing the game, so that's what consumes my attention. Less on their theories and more so,
We should
is that
wash ourselves
apostrophe
around
S or
greenbacks.
S apostrophe? What's going
Yeah.
on there?
What do you mean? He seems nice.
He may seem nice, but
I mean, a popular theory is that there's more to
I can
Ashton than
tell.
he tells the characters,
That man
even
is
in
very
exposition
dangerous.
scenes, which is
Yeah,
like, wow,
I feel-
where'd you get that idea?
Yeah, it's almost like this scene right here almost explicitly tells you. But I do like the back and forth on if he's evil or not.
Yes,
like,
that
a-
is.
Mhm.
I will say that is a really interesting thing that's been talked about.
Yeah.
That is a theory that I have heard is Ashton evil.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess you'll just have to wait for the full game to find out.
Yeah, there's that the question can
Oh,
also be
wait,
asked.
go by the fountain. Go by the fountain. This is one of my favorite little details. It makes noise when you go by it.
Yeah.
I love that. The spatial sound. I don't know. I'm such a nerd. I love that kind of stuff. It's so small.
I remember, like, I think it was Dia playing, and he ran over here. He's like, "Oh, that's so cool! How'd you do that?" But then he ran over here. He's like, "Oh, I know how you did that." And then immediately was unimpressed, and I was like, "I thought that was cool."
You're like, thank you, kind of.
Yeah. And here's another Kickstarter character as well.
Yes.
There's a bunch of them out there, and yet another character will just give you things if you explore. So,
If you talk to them.
yep.
There's a lot of reward for doing good and like getting to know NPCs and
Mhm.
like exploration, which I think is really cool because I mean when you think about what the epitome of an adventurer is, most of the time you see like, you know, like a hero. Like it's someone who like goes out and
Mhm.
explores and has fun and recruits people and makes friends and like just becomes kind of like a folk hero. So I think that that's really cool that our game rewards players for playing into that because it's what Max and Riker have wanted to be since they were kids.
Yep. And speaking of the future a little bit, a lot of people, we do talk about it a decent amount, I think, but it's still like a surprise to a lot of people. How the routes are handled and the multiple endings, because it is funny because we'll see a lot of people going like, wait, there's multiple endings, like even though like it says in the beginning or like
Yep.
that like characters can die.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
somehow they're still surprised.
Yep. Especially, yeah, I forget what stream, it might have been Drifty, that was like surprised right after they read that.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if you gloss over it,
mhm.
you don't really think about your you just don't think about your actions having consequences.
Yeah.
So then when consequences happen, it's like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have did that.
I think one of the reasons too is it's really unexpected,
Can't beat
is because it's not really common in an RPG of like our size. I know we were told a lot that like we were definitely over ambitious, and to some extent,
And, like, attempting too much, and
yeah,
they were kind of right.
well, they were a little bit right, but the way we handle choice is a really big problem you and I have talked like extensively about previously, is the illusion of choice in RPGs. Mass Effect 3 being a really big one.
Oh my word. Oh my word.
Yeah, we
I just played Mass Effect for the first time, like basically started during COVID and finally finished maybe last year or the year before that. I can't remember. Time is an illusion. But yeah, no, the illusion of choice is what Mass Effect 3 should really be titled.
because it all comes down to one of like 3 endings, right?
And they're all basically the same, and they won't have meaning because they'll pick whatever ending they think is best for if they do another game like they've teased. So
Yep, and I actually did see recently the main developer of Mass Effect saying we won't let you down, and like was hyping it up. So we'll see. BioWare has a lot to live up to, especially after the release of Baldur's Gate. They expect like
yeah,
there's a big controversy around Baldur's Gate with like people. I don't know. It's one of the dumbest ones I've seen. Are you familiar with the current one, the big Baldur's Gate 3 controversy?
Is it that like Western game devs are upset because they put too much in their games, so they're raising the standards?
Yeah, that's the big argument.
It's so dumb. Like, yes, raise the standards, raise the stakes, make games that are better.
But the thing that really irritates me as a developer too is, especially someone making a game in the same genre that's not even close to the same scale, obviously, is a lot of developers were saying, like, this is a bad idea. Like I remember there was like an article calling it an anomaly. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly, saying like, oh, we like other game developers were saying like, and game developers of like really big studios like at Blizzard were saying we shouldn't be
like
expected to make we shouldn't be expected to make games of like this scale. Which, first of all, the reason Baldur's Gate 3 was being praised before it was released wasn't because of the scale. Like, although there were articles coming out about like the 1,700 different endings and like 74 hours of cutscenes, that's not, gamers did not give a fuck about that. Like, I was following it very closely. What was cool was 0 microtransactions. You can play offline. That's the standard they were talking about. It's just like a completely fully finished game. Like,
welcome everyone to the
it's a massive game.
Dungeon.
I have a lot of issues too, which I'm hoping they are addressing. But
to pass the test, all you have to do
is
it's just showing that
and come back down here
that
safely.
being called an anomaly by AAA games and bigger companies shows their lack of care for their consumers. That's all it is. It highlights that they don't care about their consumers. They care about making money, and making games good is not their priority.
Mm-hmm. And although I was like saying BioWare has like a lot to live up to, is BioWare is a big studio, and but it doesn't have to be the same size. It just has to be good. That's the thing. It could be half the size, but as long as the quality is good, and like the amount of in an RPG, I will say the game time does matter. Like if you beat it in 8 hours and it's like $60, it's like, all right, well.
It's like, all right, well, I didn't get my money.
Yeah, but like if you make it like at least 24, which I think very doable. RPGs stretch a lot of things out.
Yep.
But you just make sure that like the quality is good. Like
you will be recognized as
you're good. Like you don't have to make it have 74 hours of mocap cutscenes. Like just make sure the story's good. Make sure the companions are good. Make sure the choices matter, and make sure the gameplay is just decent. You can get away with subpar gameplay in an RPG. It's really just about the world exploration story. It's the story. It's always the story. And choices. If you're gonna listen, actually false. If you give choices, which is the whole reason I brought up like the illusion of choice.
Then I'll do this on my own.
The way we tackle it in this game is I make it very clear that, like, especially right here, so in like a bigger RPG, like let's say if this was like Baldur's Gate, for example, if I said too good for us, like they would do something like where Ashton just permanently leaves and has like his own adventure, etc., and it's like an entirely different game path. Like, but here, and like a lot of the main story choices, I make it very clear from the start, so you're not like led astray.
Hold on. We were all given this test together.
That the
And like
choices
you said, there
are not
bound
going
be
to
monsters
matter
inside. Wouldn't it be better to
too
work
much
together?
right now. Okay, that's kind of true. But your choices matter. They just don't immediately have changes.
An effect.
Yeah. So
Yep.
we'll see in a second.
I suppose.
It's all about building up your relationship with these characters, and your relationship with all of them determines the ending you'll get. Which I notice is, I don't know about you, it's one really big issue I've had in RPGs lately, where I'm making all these choices, and my choices actually change the outcome. Which there are a few that will change the outcome of like quests in our dying world. Like the quests will change depending on your
Yep.
choices. But then you get to the ending, and it's like none of the choices I made earlier mattered, though. I'm just given a new choice now. But for here, it's the complete opposite. Every single choice you make until the ending determines what ending you get. So you don't. It's kind of like the opposite in a way. So like with Mass Effect 3, all the choices you made prior do not influences the 3 endings you get.
Yep.
Here, our game is kind of unique in a way because every choice you make here you're picking the ending throughout the entire game. When you get to the game, you're locked in an ending route. It's too late to go back. Well, you're given a warning, obviously, but before you progress. But
Yep.
your story the whole way through shapes what happens to these characters. It's not just you get to see a couple different outcomes. All right, pick A, B, or C. It's
Yep, exactly. It is compounded, and you're allowed to get
Before
the
we
ending
begin,
that you
I'll
get
let you know.
because of what you
Don't
did
accept mediocrity.
through the game up until this point.
And if people do multiple playthroughs, they'll start to like dissect the game and understand it a bit more, which happens throughout any game. Like choices feel less impactful when you know every single outcome. But
don't want you
second
slowing
playthroughs
down
are
once
very
we head
rare,
inside,
even
so
in like really popular
I'll help
games.
expand your magical potential.
But we're really
Your body
hoping
should be able to handle
that
it.
for a first playthrough of this game, like the ending should feel, if we do this correctly, which I think we're on the right track here. The ending should feel really, really impactful because, like we said, like your decisions actually do matter. But just not in like the probably like standard.
Not in the way
RPG
that you'd think, or the way
Magic
that
is
you'd
fueled by
expect
more than
from an
just
RPG
mana.
right now.
Emotions
Yeah,
can
but that's
bolster
also-
your magical ability, and faith is the
It's something
strongest
we
emotion
do,
there is.
not just to be unique, but it's the whole reason entire reason I went on that tangent is talking about being over ambitious. We had to think of a way to really sell like how your choices matter while being on a small scale, and then this is the outcome that like came from that thought idea.
Put your faith
Yes.
in me. Trust in
And
me.
it's-
Believe in me.
It's
I
one of those
promise
things where it's like,
we will
okay, we
complete
have
this
all
test
these
and make
ambitions.
it
We
out in
want
one
this
piece.
thing. How do we narrow it down to make it come across in a way that doesn't seem cheap? And this was our solution, and you'll just have to find out for yourself what the answer to that was.
Yep.
Now, take a deep breath. Breathe in.
And this is also a new
Breathe
scene
out.
that it's been out for a little bit, but people really liked as well as the big change we made to the
There
boost
you go.
mechanics.
Good.
Yes.
I think it's really cool. At first people thought, oh, that scene was cool, but
Well
I
done.
like
Why don't we head inside?
people's reaction to how the way you get stronger through the game is not just like conventional leveling, it's through story beats. So
Yes.
the story and gameplay are once again tied up really nicely, and how each time you learn magic and get stronger, it's through a different character's like perspective on like what they view to be the best way. So like Ashton will talk about like he thinks faith is the strongest way.
Let's find out who's strong.
Oh, and the new bats. That's right, the new bats.
Yes, new enemy, Dragon Bones enemies. So it just helps reiterate that our characters are all unique and individual and have different things that they put their priorities into, and they attest that their abilities come from. Which, I don't know about you, but I think it's pretty neat.
I think it's pretty cool. And it's cool seeing people's reaction and realizing that as well.
And that's what you were getting at with the most people don't play through the game a second time. But if they do, especially with our game, you begin to see, oh, well, we actually did think about, okay, what this might say about the world at large from the perspective of somebody who's played through the game once and knows the ending. It's like, oh, wow, they were thinking about that all the way ahead, you know, this far into the future. It's like, yeah, we actually had to sit down and talk about that. That's what that 7-hour discussion was about. Was
exactly.
how do we tie in the themes of our game and our world into even the earliest moments of the story? Now, just for a little bit of difference, how did you go about redesigning this dungeon? Because I know Stone Mountain saw a lot of different designs.
At first, it was 11 floors, which was way too long. People were in here for like an hour. So
bit extensive for an Adventure Guild beginner's test.
I think at first, because they were like edited sample maps, but now they're all custom, obviously. Because we're getting rid of, I think the slimes are actually, when you play the game, for the Steam Next Fest, anyone who's watching, they should also be replaced, but they're the last enemy, sprite sheet enemy, to go.
Nice. So, lots of new custom enemies in our future then.
Yep, they'll all be Dragon Bones, so they'll all be like more consistent. Just one of the last pieces of like, you know, getting like the demo like placeholders out and preparing for the full release.
You'll love to see it.
Yeah, but back to the dungeon as well. One thing I noticed, and I might change as well, is one of the reasons it felt so long is I've realized I play the game very, very differently compared to like the standard player. Like, oh, goodbye, Max.
Oops.
So the way I play RPGs is I will avoid almost as many fights as I can. Like, I'll tackle a few just so I stay decently leveled.
Just how strong can I get?
But I will watch Heroic Zephyr stream this game, and she grinded the enemies, which is good. If people are willing to grind when they don't have to, it means they like your combat system, which is an important lesson to learn. But I like our combat system. I do not like grinding, so I will avoid, especially since I've played this so many times, I will avoid enemies as often as possible. So I'll get to areas very low leveled and suffer through like a tougher boss fight than other people.
Yes.
But
that was also increasing the amount of time that it took to get through the dungeon, because there are a lot of ads. So when you go through them, and you as an individual player are running through the dungeon, somebody who stops to fight every single one is going to be like, oh my word, this is lasting forever.
Yeah, especially because there was like one fight per, and then people, I've noticed people make the mistake, I know I'm comparing it to other RPGs a lot, but it's specifically RPG Maker games. Well, not true, turn-based games. I don't play, I play a lot more now. I did not play too many turn-based games back in the day, but like Dragon Quest, you know, Chrono Trigger, like it's like I notice a lot of players go with the mindset that if I do not kill every single enemy in this dungeon, I will not be able to beat the boss, which is really sad because a lot of developers will design their game how they like it, and that's true for me as well. So like I said, I do not like to grind, so I made sure in this game you can avoid most fights. I've seen people beat the boss at like the lowest level possible. Like they avoided like every fight because I want that to be the option. One of the ways to play the game, see, I just avoided that fight too. One of the ways to play is you will get enough XP just by being the bosses. You technically don't even have to do a single encounter. It will not be easy. Most people will not be able to do that, but it is entirely possible, and I've seen some people do it. One strategy, it's actually neat seeing how many different strategies people come up with while playing. The most recent one was like the steak strat, like Heroic Zephyr bought like a ton of like steaks from the
ribs.
The restaurant, the rib strat.
Yeah, the rib strat. I watched that at least.
Okay, yeah. From this one restaurant in the game, because it's like an AoE heal and mana like thing for your party. Spent all her money on that, but then she did not need Rena to like spam healing. She just every turn someone used that item, and the entire party was constantly full. So that's another way.
Which is an interesting way to go about the game too, because just the replayability with different strategies, like they just exist.
Which is also just
and
really cool seeing when you're, not intending for something to be like a viable option, but then players discover it is, and then you're like, oh, that's neat. I don't need to take that out. But like, what were you saying?
I was gonna say completely different. I personally really like, now I am the crazy one that, yes, I am exploring, so that means I pick up a lot of junk. I love being able to sell my shit to like the nearest vendor. Like there's nothing more satisfying than having a full inventory and then clearing it out and
then
gaining
just like
a bunch
the
of
gold.
money for that.
I know.
Yes, I love that. So I love that some of the monsters do some of them drop crafting pieces? Is that right?
Yeah. Some of them do.
Yeah, like
but
the dark energy is a crafting piece. But you can also just sell it and gain a lot of money. And then you have enough money to buy better weapons, and then your time is a lot easier. So there's so many different strategies you can have.
Yeah, there's one of the things, I keep comparing it to other RPGs, but one of the reasons this game is even being made is, and it's called like a love letter to the old school RPGs, is there's so many little nitpicks I've had that I was like, I think I can make this more appealing and fix it. So
so cocky.
I know. Well, it seems to be mostly agreed upon, but one of the main things I've realized in games like in Dragon Age, I played through all those games recently. I did not like to craft. I do not like to craft in a majority of games, but the games I do, I really like to craft. So that's why, and that's one thing I've noticed too. Neo Soul Gamer, who played and reviewed this game, said he hates crafting in like all games, but he really liked it here because it's like we don't pressure you to craft. You can buy you can just buy the resources you need. You don't have to go out and like gather and like look for the specific flower you need for this one potion. You can just go get the recipes you need, or you don't even have to engage with the system at all. Like there's only a few recipes to craft. They're all useful. You constantly get supplies, so you can constantly make a few things.
And if you need more, you can go find it from the nearest shop.
Yep, but also if you don't want to engage, the two ingredients together, so like an empty vial and an herb, is equal in gold to 1 health potion. So you can just sell all your resources and just buy like weapons.
Them instead of making them.
Yep. So I think that approach has made crafting a lot more accessible and fun for players. And we're already near the end.
Oh my gosh. I was expecting it to be longer because I was just expecting it to be longer.
You know, what's in the hand of a pro, it's...
Yeah, clearly.
No, you know what? Riker's tanky enough. He can just get the gloves.
He can have the basic boy gloves. Didn't you get a new shield?
I did. Thank you. I got 2 new shields.
Yep. And it makes me happy that people like the dumb little chibis I drew for the
They're so
character
cute.
selection.
They're so cute.
They're really cute. I'm glad that people like them. They actually do say a lot about the character in even just that. It's
Yeah,
just
and
meh.
definitely the backers who backed it on Kickstarter are definitely gonna like love the stickers when they get them. They're so cute.
Yep. I'm sure in the future maybe we can set up some sort of a store on the website and sell them to, or make new ones
Yeah,
and sell those.
for like the 3 people that want to get them. I'm sure.
Yes,
they'll-
exactly. Hey, it's gonna be me, my mom, and my grandma.
No, I respect that. I'll have to give your mom like a custom signed one, like that says like thank you.
Yeah. No, she's so sweet. And I think that's another thing that's been really cool is our families are actually super supportive of what we're doing, and they're excited to see it come
Yeah,
out, even if they don't fully understand.
Well, what's funny is, I don't know if I told you, my dad, he was like, he didn't get it. He was like, Jaden, I don't know about this. I was like, Dad, like, it's just, like, you know, I got my part-time job. It's a hobby. But, like, you know, you gotta trust me. Like, I think it's gonna be, like, maybe not the biggest thing ever, but, like, he was expecting,
for
like, nothing
me.
to come out of it. But then he saw the Kickstarter, and he was like, hold up, like, you can actually earn money from this, although it's all going into the game's funding. He was like, hold up. I mean, perhaps I misjudged you, you know, let me try to support you on this, which it was just really funny seeing that turnaround. Because he thought,
That's so
like,
cool.
All the way to
yeah,
the top.
he thought,
Yeah,
like,
got
we were
the
gonna
order.
get, like, $0
All
of
we have to
funding.
do is
And turns out people actually really like the game, so that's been really exciting.
My grandfather.
No, my parents were. I was so excited. Sorry, one sec. I was so excited because you were like, somebody donated $100, and I'm like, Mom, somebody donated $100, and I'm looking at her standing in the kitchen. She's got this like smirk, the biggest smirk I've ever seen. I'm like, you.
I know that night was like the craziest night of like because I remember what I was doing when that was happening, and I never do that, but like because we got fun. I wasn't like an hour. We got fun in like 1 hour.
We got fully funded within like an hour and a half.
It was, yeah. That night was so crazy. It's definitely going down as like one of my happiest memories from making the game. Like I remember us just talking back and forth, like, oh my gosh, another one.
Like, oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
it is the one downside is we learned so much from that Kickstarter, and it looks
We
so
did.
different. It looks so ugly now. If we made
Yeah.
it like today, we could have gotten so much more funding, which is
I know.
is fine
But,
because
I mean, hindsight, but we still were able to do so much with the money that people so generously gifted.
oh yeah, it's still
and
like
you can
Mhm.
see the improvement that it's made on the game. Like you can physically tell how much
yeah,
it's helped us.
immediately too. Yeah, it's been such a big blessing, especially because I'm saying like it looked so like worse then, but because the
Yeah.
core was there, people had so much faith in the project immediately,
Mhm.
and it's really cool seeing the fact that like even though the game's not done, like their faith was like rewarded in a sense because it's only gotten so much better while like its identity stayed the same. So
Yes,
I'm really glad we can
Yep.
make those people proud and happy.
I completely agree.
Hey Ashton, what are you doing?
Oh, and speaking of this scene, so one person commented, like maybe a few people did at this point, like, oh, why couldn't Ashton just fly up? And there is a book saying that like angels can't fly actually.
The wings are for show.
Yeah, the wings are for show. But obviously you can't just expect like players to read your lore books.
To read your lore books, even if you provide them.
Yeah. So, but we're introducing that into a little heart-to-heart that's like inside the cave, which is what we talked about earlier of like bridging the gaps a bit, and then
Mhm.
adds more to the story, to the characters, and then also it would solve that problem. Just little creative
And then-
solutions.
If somebody did read that book, when Ashton talks about it, they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I read that."
And then if they
Supported.
also, they would also learn about Ashton. Like they'd be able to like predict the future like plot development
Mm-hmm.
While you
I was
two
gonna
were
say I
about
won't
to
spoil
complete
it,
the
but like we're about to
adventurous
see it.
test,
Like Ashton's an
I was
angel.
here for a different goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No spoilers, but if you've played the game already, you know.
And you're
This
if
man.
A long time ago.
yeah, it wouldn't.
This normally
you're-
a
we're
goal
already
was
about to see
created
it.
by using Earth and its purpose is
Yep.
to protect. But
Jumped the gun a little bit there,
certain
but I think
fallen
that's okay.
angels
Yeah, I
wanted to
mean
tweak that a bit.
he has like
They wanted to make one of steel that they could use for
doesn't he?
war.
Yeah, on the title screen he has wings. So
Yeah, so it's already been
One
spoiled.
of the fallen angels that worked on it was a
although I
genius.
am glad we changed the title screen from the cover art to what it is now, because a lot of people do not
I
pay
agree.
attention to the cover art, and now like when characters are introduced, you won't be like, okay, so it's this person now, cool. So like Cersei,
Yep.
for example.
He was said to have
Exactly.
Yeah,
died
They,
when
they don't know
successfully
immediately
created the
who's
first
doing
artificial
what
gold.
unless
Mhm.
they extensively
Not
look
only
at
that,
the
but he was buried
art
where
that
he
comes with
died,
the game,
along
like
with
when
his
you
body,
download it
one
on
of his
Steam
best
and stuff like that.
inventions was buried
Yeah.
alongside him. A dagger that can remove
It's
any
also
curse
crazy
mark.
how much like success we've had on Steam. So I've done a lot of research lately, and like getting into the whole like game dev like marketing world has been so insane, and like talking to like the other developers that are like making like way bigger projects, and seeing how well we're doing like for our size too, like with over like 20,000 downloads. A lot of them are bot related. You can tell like when like there are like big bot downloads I talked to, but it should still be around that ballpark because we've gotten like way more since then. And then the amount of wish lists keeps going up lately, which is also really nice to see because they're so important.
Yes. Yep.
And which is the whole reason we're doing the second commentary thing for the Steam Next Fest, because like that's the biggest way to get wish lists out of every promotional thing. With this is the biggest.
The
So
place that man died was right here, and I'm after that dagger.
So you only participated in the test to get this dagger?
That's right.
So why do you need a dagger to remove curse marks?
I'm also so
That
glad.
is the question, Riker.
Yeah, so many people guessed like the mark on his face was the curse
Well,
mark too.
You see,
It's not exactly subtle.
I know, but it's like
an artificial golem.
they thought it was. I thought it was cool.
I guess this was set up in case anyone tried to mess
Oh,
with
did
the
you want to
grave.
talk about the
Maybe I
golem a
should've
little
thought
bit?
this
True.
out.
Yep. Besides the slime, the golem has also been completely reworked. Its new design is so cool,
Alright,
and you'll
well,
also see it.
Time to run.
But sadly, it's not animated yet.
We're running.
By the time
It's
we
so
actually do
close.
this, it's so close. You, like, it looks so cool.
And it's likely not going to leave the gravesite.
Yeah, Jaden showed me a picture of it, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that looks so much." Not that this sprite is bad by any means.
It's just not.
but,
It's
like,
not custom.
The
it's
custom
like,
one is so tasty.
I guess it can't be helped.
This piece of artwork took me so long.
I know,
Let
but
me
it looks.
tell you.
It looks so cool. Like the poses, especially Ashton.
The
Ashton, that's my favorite
perspective.
one.
The perspective and the poses and Ashton's armor always gives me grief. I might come back to this, and I kind of want to adjust some of the line art, and then I want to draw Ashton's the texture to his armor actually.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it took me a really long time, but I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, and I'm glad people were pleasantly surprised with like the cutscene art too. That was really important.
Yeah.
Another one stands in my way.
And another thing, that getting that transition, by the way, took me like 5 hours because there was a really weird glitch. So I had to figure out a way to like break the game. So if you died on this fight, you would just be in a black screen. But you could still
I
access
remember
the menu
that.
because technically the image was still there until it's not. So I had to. Technically, what I did there is the image isn't going away. It's going to a separate image that's I think transparent or black.
Okay.
And so yeah, it changes the image, and then it changes the transparency to 0 really fast, so it looks like you're just changing it normally. But like that's one of the things with RPG Maker is like you have to work around the engine a lot of times.
It definitely is a skill in and of itself.
Possibly be.
Yeah, that's for sure.
There's no time to be surprised. Let's do this.
Originally, too, there was gonna be their portraits for this as well, but it's very buggy in battle and takes up a lot of like space. So, but I decided against it. And also, they talk a lot in battle without any portraits to where. Or I
So it's fine.
do not hard target Max. Okay, I was gonna say.
Uh-oh.
Because I went in, you know, a little bit under leveled, but
Yeah.
we chilling.
Well, I'm gonna run because I pounded like a huge glass of water, so don't die while I'm gone. I'll be right back.
If I die,
I
I'm gonna
wish
act
you
like I
luck.
didn't know.
Okay.
So, good luck.
I'll know.
Alright, have fun. Don't fall in. I don't think she was gonna do that part. Okay, wait. Oh no, he's not weak to spears. I forget. It's been a long time since I've done this. Alright. Foils then. He's weak to foils, okay. Those are the three. But like, so this fight has been a little bit tricky for some people. We'll use this time to heal up, get our boost back. And there's a lot of different ways to complete it. But I typically just like beeline for testing. I just beeline the story and just brute force the golem this way. Ashen's the really big carry here, obviously, because he's a higher level than everyone else starting off. Okay, that hurt. And since Max only has one boost at this time, I'm actually going to save his. Well, yeah, it'll be okay. We can look in the turn order and see who's coming up next. So we'll use his turn to heal Riker. We got a lot of potions on the way. Just some crafting. And so we'll use 2 of his boosts, and then we'll use strong attack skill. Another thing I wanted to mention too is talking about improvements. Although I won't have an ego here and say our choices are objectively correct, obviously, because everyone has personal preferences. But obviously, we are using the Octopath Traveler battle system, and one thing with that is. There were 2 issues I had while playing that game. I absolutely loved the combat system in Octopath, but the 2 issues I had were really spongy bosses, and there were 2, I think, but the main was just really spongy bosses. Oh, and then boosts. Oh, no. Like just boosting like your big AoE spells, and then that's about it. That seemed to be the most effective way for me to play. But there were more creative things like we could do with the boost. I haven't played Octopath Traveler 2 yet to compare the 2, obviously. So I don't know if it improved at all in that regard, but
You didn't die, right?
No, of course not. I'm gaming.
Sure. I went upstairs and I was like accosted by heat.
Can't beat what you can't.
It is so hot outside right now. Yay, you did it!
I did it.
Seems
Level
Seems
5.
improved a bit. Another level
Nice.
reached.
I may eventually want to give, and then like the transparency, because it had to be like pure black, then I had to like change it to like
We
normal.
actually did it.
So it just looks like a battle transition, but like I had to break the game. To
It
do
took a lot of work to
Mhm.
get there.
Yep.
We did.
One of the best changes we made though
All that's
was
left is to get the dagger and bring
making
back the orb.
Pride look a lot better.
Man,
Yes,
what a
Pride looks so
pain.
much cooler now.
Why do I have to be the one who
And
checks out
listen,
who destroys some
there,
useless machine?
if there is one one small plot hole, it's like, yes, technically, Pride says this before showing up, but
This is going to be
sometimes
such a waste of
you
time.
just gotta go with the rule of cool, baby. All right. Sometimes you just gotta say something before you actually arrive.
Maybe not. It's been a while, Ashton.
Pride. You know each other?
I'm so glad so many people like dig his sunglasses too.
Of course.
Yeah.
And, like, because
You and I
that's
go way
when you
back.
go like with like a character's design where they're because he's goofy, like we acknowledge that. But it's meant to be like a fun type of goofy. It's important like to not like make sure like people just immediately like lose what's the word, immersion in your story.
Yep.
110.
Especially considering, you know, this is a
Maybe
generic
120.
fantasy setting, so the
Mhm.
fact that he's wearing sunglasses might make some people go like, wait a second.
Mhm.
But for his character, just the way that he even introduces himself, it really just kind of makes sense.
Mhm. And one of the points of like how the start is generic, like it's like a Seven Deadly Sins guy with sunglasses, and you're like, oh, it's like a standard shonen story, like we were mentioning earlier.
I came here to see who
It kind of
brought
works
this
into our
machine.
favor because it kind
I
of
never
lures you
expected
into
you
like
to
a
be
false sense
here.
of security, especially if you make the wrong choices.
Yes.
So I'll just say there's a lot more than meets the eye here for this scene,
Now that I'm
and a lot of
thinking
the
about
a lot of
why
the
are
other
you
earlier
here?
scenes, which you can kind of. And it's cool. People seeing the end of chapter 3 and realizing that there's more going on is a really cool thing to see for those that stuck around
The
and
reason
beat the
wouldn't have
demo.
anything to do with a certain dagger, right?
How did you...
Yeah, it just shows
How did I
one of my
know?
favorite things in storytelling
I
in
can just tell
general
by
is
looking
when
at
the
you that
world
you're
has more
cursed.
autonomy than just your main characters. So
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes you see everything
But,
through the perspective of
I have some bad
whichever
news for
main
you about
character
the
is leading
dagger.
you through the story, which you're
Mhm.
supposed to do. But there are times where it gets so bogged down by it's just the main character holding your hand and leading you through, and things only happen because they're there.
Mhm.
Like, that gets a little tiresome. But when it shows that things are happening outside of them, then it makes the world feel more tangible, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. And like we were talking earlier about like the different endings and routes and choices. We both worked really hard to make sure, okay, so if the player makes these choices, they'll go down this route, which is what a lot of RPGs do. But like I don't know if you ever played The Witcher 2, there's a lot of the story outcomes can be very different depending like who you side with, but technically the logic doesn't make sense. So like if the player makes Geralt do action A, then action B should happen, and if they go action B, then action like A should happen. But that's not how it works. Like I'm trying to think of like a good analogy to make it like easier to understand. But so obviously, okay, here's a good way to think of it. So the player's going to, so obviously things are going to happen in the story no matter what, right? In any story, especially like
Yep.
RPGs. But depending on the choices, that's where changes are made. But you'll notice a lot, like, so like let's say it is difficult explaining like different like paths and outcomes. If something is always going to happen, but a player makes a choice where it shouldn't happen and it still happens, that's where, you know, like people start
It breaks
getting
the
out-
immersion.
Yeah,
That's
it breaks
where-
it breaks
yep.
the immersion. So all this
You start
entire
getting
long
into
rant
trouble.
to say like we had to go in depth and make sure that every single outcome would make sense depending on the changes, because
Which
we
choices
wanted,
you make.
Yeah, because we wanted all three ending routes to feel very different, but they all had to make sense. So like it wouldn't, like, so let's say the entire world ends in like the worst route. It would have to make sense. The chain reaction would have to match Max making those choices, but then him not making those choices would also have to like prevent it as well, is like what I'm saying.
In the same breath, yes.
Yeah.
His actions, and then it would have to make sense that his actions would prevent. So like you couldn't just have the world blowing up on a whim. It'd have to be like, oh well, Max did this, so that triggered this, and that actually caused this to happen, and that's why we don't get the explosion. You know, it has to make it make sense.
Yeah, and you talked
Which is
about,
hard.
Yeah, and you talked about how like it's really important for characters to be doing their own thing. One of the reasons, because Max is not like a blank slate. He's not just like the standard like character like you like put yourself onto and have like everyone obsess over you and everything. Obviously, he's the main character. He gets treated like the main character. But the way it works is with your relationships with everyone, and it expands a lot in Act 2. You'll see when you actually have like a home base and interact with a lot more like different companions that join you on your journey. The way the ending routes are kind of locked, and I can say this without being spoilery, it's not Max solving all these issues. It's you improving these characters and then making them more resolved to like deal with their own issues, and they solve like not to say like Max sits there and does nothing, but like your effect on these characters is what allows them to overcome like the trials ahead. It's not just you solve everything because you're the main character and then everyone like claps and like bows. Like they do a lot of the heavy lifting, but you help them like, you know, overcome their own arcs and their trauma and their past experiences, and that's what it's all about. It's all about the characters, baby. That's what RPGs are all about.
Greed's already taken it.
And especially since they all have their own motives and are, like Zafriel says, it'll be a miracle if this works out. Because, you know, a lot of them want to, you know, save the world and do the greater thing, but, you know, not all. And although they're united against, under a common banner,
What a shame,
a common
too,
goal,
since you need that dagger for
you know, they're
your
all,
deal.
like, hanging on by, like, a thread. It's all about, like, maintaining that thread, and then either, like, breaking it, barely maintaining it, or strengthening it, basically, is how the routes go.
Collecting all 14 divine weapons?
That's right.
Wow, I got it right first try. Go me. I should really be a detective.
Should you?
So what now?
You know, he might solve a case.
Oh,
Just one.
No.
Just the one.
So long as it pertains to him.
Yeah, and then he'd like hang in like a portrait of himself up in the office, Detective of the Year.
Yep.
I'm going to offer you my weapon and my services if you meet a certain condition of mine.
Who wouldn't want pride
And
services?
what would that be?
I want you with
Don't
your
say
current
it like
power
that.
to make Greed give you her weapon and that dagger. For anyone else, this would be a suicide mission. But for you...
I'll do it. If you're willing to help, I'll make her hand over the dagger and her weapon.
All right, that's what I wanted to hear.
Honestly,
This is
Emma
worth it
really should have
after
warned
all.
Max and Riker not to make
Finally.
any friends with
Means
questionable
I'm starting to
strangers.
move around again.
Oh my. Okay, well, you know what? I have to have that as dialogue now if you go back and talk to her. Like, don't talk to strangers, especially anyone
Yeah.
wearing weird
Ooh,
articles
just
of clothing
thinking
on
about
their
all this
face.
gets me excited. Try not to disappoint me.
That'd be funny. Maybe not like that exactly, but that could be funny to do.
You're cursed.
I know, it's a lot to explain. After we finish the test, let's meet back up at the guild hall.
And I was gonna do it to the end of chapter 1, but we should probably do just the exposition scene to
I'll
wrap it
explain
up,
everything
just because
there.
Yep,
that would fit nicely.
I agree.
Wow, you guys look pretty beat up. Was the dungeon that difficult for you all?
You could say that.
Well, anyway, you did exactly what we asked for and brought back the orb.
And there's gonna be a few more circumstances in the future, I will say. Joy has already seen a few, but there's a lot more movement in the sprites and like
Yes.
custom sprites in Act 2 onward that will be reflected a bit more in
With this, you three
Act
are
1
all
as well.
now full-fledged adventurers.
Since like we both said we've both leveled up our own skills
Welcome
while
to the
working on this,
Adventurers
and mine
Guild.
has been getting better at pixel art slowly but surely, but it's improved enough.
It's very
for-
impressive.
Thank
No,
you.
it's very impressive. Going from somebody who doesn't really do art just gives me MS Paint images of stick figures for what you want for art. Not to put you on blast, but
No,
to put you on blast.
I think it's funny seeing. I love showing people how you're able to like. It's like interpreting like the Egyptian
hieroglyphics.
Drawings. Thank you.
Yep.
Hieroglyphics. Yep.
Yeah, it really is sometimes.
Yeah, it's really funny showing like the before and after to people.
You sent me one literally yesterday, and I was like, "What is this perspective?"
Yeah, I was like, "I got you, Chief," because like in my head, like, I it's so clear, and then I get to like, like even just drawing a sketch, and I'm like, you know what, I can't do this. I'll just try to explain it the best I can, and we'll go from there. But
you know, sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah, and it says a lot about your skill set, how you're able to figure it out, going from there.
We did it!
Before we do,
I love that.
I know
Adventures!
Nick kills it as Max, dude. Yeah,
he's so good. And he's like, what, our third?
Yeah,
Max
I was about to say, and he's our third Max, and you know sometimes third time's the charm. What can we say?
And literally could not have wished for or asked for a better actor for our main character. He's so talented.
Especially since how involved Nick is with the project and everything. Like, he draws a lot of fan art for it. He made our logo, like...
Yeah.
This is only the beginning.
He's insane. What a workhorse.
I move up the rankings.
As we slowly go through this scene, though, is there anything you wanna say about going, about Act 2 and onward?
Just that, like, if you think the stakes are big this act, it only gets bigger.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see these characters grow and learn throughout the process of the game. And it feels like we kind of grew and learned with them.
It really does.
And the story kind of just became what it needed to be in the best sense possible.
I didn't exactly want to become
because
an
it
adventurer,
sort
but
of, like,
I
once
guess
we
the
put
perks
down
would
the
be nice.
bones, it kind of writes itself. And I think that is especially seen in not just Act 2, but into Act 3 as well. Like, there were some things that were so obvious, but, like, once we wrote them down, we were like, why didn't we think of that before? Oh, my word.
For sure. Yeah, I think Act 2 will really be the highlight of the game. Act 3 is still, like, in the very far distance, so I can't give an opinion on that yet, but how far we've come in the polish and how cutscenes are presented in Act 2, and the locations and like the new cities and how big like the scope goes. If we manage to stick the landing with some of the bigger scenes, I think you guys are gonna be really happy and impressed with how it goes, for sure. Is there any...
Yeah, I completely agree.
You can say the name, that's fine, because we had to do public auditions. Out of all the new Act 2 characters, who is your favorite, and then who do you think is going to be the new fan favorite?
That's a really good question. Okay, personal favorite, kind of an odd one, not one that you would expect, is actually probably like Humility. Either Humility or Charity. They're coming up soon, and both of them are just like so uniquely them, to the point where like they just, like I said, they just kind of wrote themselves. Like their interactions with whoever they interact with in the story, their mannerisms, the actors we hired for them, and I say hired, they volunteered. The actors who volunteered their voices to them just give them so much life and character and personality. I'm so excited for that. Fan favorite is definitely going to be Bailey's Sloth. Like, hands down. She is going to be the standout for the fans, and I think that's your favorite too.
I think
aside
so.
from maybe Lust.
Yeah, both of those are
package deal.
Yeah, I think with Bailey's performance, I think all the actors kill it, but I think she just like puts so much energy into it And like it's so hard because like I said, everyone kills it, but I think her villainous performance is what people really get attached to, and I think she's gonna steal the show in Act 2. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think just her delivery and her the life that is, and I keep saying this, but seriously, the life that our voice actors bring to their characters just really sell our story so well. We are only ever aided by the talent that these people pour into what they do for us, which I am so incredibly grateful for everyone who's helped with the project.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I think
higher ranking quest.
it is interesting you said humility and charity. Charity, humility, I think is a type of character like you've seen before. He's kind of like Max, but a bit older, more experienced. That's one of the reasons those two characters get along so well. But I think one of the most unique characters in Act 2 would be Charity. I think people will sleep on him a little bit because he's very almost kind of like it's interesting. So they are kind of Max and Riker parallels a little bit. And so humility is the Max, and then Charity is the Riker of that pair. So I think the reception will be a little bit similar to how people like Max and Riker, but obviously they're not, the same characters. They have a lot of different things going on for them. I think people will probably prefer Charity because of his introduction is really, really cool. Especially with how we are doing his scene. One of the things we're doing with voice acting in Act 2 is editing the lines to make it a lot cooler. If anyone has played the Dragon games, because the chapter's already been revealed, it's called Demons, so naturally you're probably going to see a few. And then making them imposing and otherworldly has really been a challenge, especially because, it's not like an animated show or a movie. It's hard to convey dread in a 2D game. So you have to be really creative. And Julia's...
complex emotions in general in a 2D game are very hard.
Yep, so Julia's suggestion for how we do that is changing how voices work. And if you play Dragon Age, it's not the same, but when demons talk, like especially when they're possessing someone, the possessed person speaks first and more clearly, but you hear a little echo, a little shadow behind their voice, which is like the demon, and it's a little bit similar in our case. So getting inspired from other great RPGs and how they do things, not directly copying them, is really important. I'm really glad we came up with a really neat solution. I think ours was really cool as well, because it ties directly into the plot, and it's not something people are going to realize, I think, until later.
Yes.
Fair enough. Like I mentioned earlier, the reason I came here was to get rid of my curse mark. It's the 2 arrows on my cheek.
So then, I guess the final question, since we're wrapping it up, and then talking about Act 2. So you said who your favorite character is, and who you think the fan favorite's going to be. But out of the chapters, what do you think is going to be people's favorite, and then least favorite? Not that least favorite is bad, but out of 4, 5, and 6. Or you can at least just say you think what people are going to like the most as well.
I think each chapter has its own story moments that are really important for the game as a whole, so I think people will latch onto those. Maybe... I'm thinking chapters 4 and 6 will probably be favorites, and 5 will be, like, the transition between them. Not to say that it's a bad chapter, I just think that people tend to latch on to, like, the bookends, So the while there might be important moments in the transitionary element in between, I think a lot of the important things that happen in 4 and 6.
Gotcha. Yeah, I definitely think 5 is definitely a transition chapter. I guess you'll have to see when you, because Julia hasn't gotten to play it either. I'm the only one who's
No,
gotten to.
not yet. I'm
Yeah.
so excited.
Yep. I think 5 might be my favorite, not in terms of story content, but just of how it's presented in the game. So, I'm glad though we slightly disagree, even though this doesn't really matter. It's just a fun conversation topic. That's good that we do though, because it's not like unanimously agreed upon. Oh yeah, 5 exists, but it's not that great. It's just necessary. It's cool that
Right.
people can grasp onto different chapters, and it's
Mhm.
not like an area in a game where everyone's like, yeah, the game is great, but that one area, like that swamp, that sucks.
Ugh. The
I
worst.
thought it was just for style.
Like, and we keep bringing up Dragon
This
Age just
curse
because you
mark
played it so
constantly
recently and I
bringing up
introduced
my
you to the
power.
game.
That dagger could
I love
get rid
Dragon
of it.
Age. Any moment where I'm forced into the Fade, I
There's entire mods to skip it. And speaking of Dragon Age, it's been a big influence on the game going forward. There's a lot to love about Dragon Age and how the companions interact in their stories. After playing through all of them, I was definitely more inspired to work more on the companions and talking to them at your home base. I think that's very, very important.
But like Pride said, it was stolen
and it's
by
important
greed.
to look to games that are popular and be like, oh, I really like that aspect of it.
Those
And
don't
not,
sound
like
like
you said, not to
normal
copy
games.
it completely, but to take elements of what you love and to put it into something that you're making.
Yeah, exactly.
That, to me, makes a really good game.
While you were gone, I mentioned
You're right.
it's
It's
not
their
like
name. It's their title.
looking at games and being like, oh, I gotta fix them is a bad mindset. It's just taking what you like about games and then expressing that through this. So it's taking the best elements of what we consider, or what I consider at least, to be the best elements of other games and putting them into a nice cohesive way as a love letter to the
A long
genre.
time ago, God
Exactly.
decided to create 7
Ooh, lore
titles to
time.
keep his
Yeah.
peace
Story
and
time.
maintain
Settle
his
down on
control.
the rug with the storefronts and the roads on it.
Yep, in the script,
Chastity,
every time there's exposition,
temperance,
Julia has to mark
patience, kindness,
where it's
and finally,
an exposition scene. It's funny. It's nice that they give a little heads up.
I just warned the actors, this is exposition time, buckle up, sit down.
I will-
this is meant to be
I will say too,
telling the players.
these are glimpses of the future characters as well, but there are going to be a few changes. You can only see their backs, but they've had some updated designs since then, because there's the concept, so these will also be changed. But the new designs for in Act 2, we'll get to see all but 2, and I'll keep it vague. But their new designs are really, really good
Diligence.
and really
That was
cool.
the title
Actually,
I was assigned.
I checked.
3.
Okay, wait. I never got to say my fan favorite. Actually,
Yeah. What is
it's
your
actually
fan favorite?
Chastity. Chastity.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
If what you're saying is true,
I think
it makes sense.
then
if
that
anyone is going to challenge Sloth as being the fan favorite,
That's right.
I
It would be
think
Chastity.
It would be her.
I'm an angel, and was once.
She
the
does have
virtue
some
of
killer
diligence
lines, and
chosen
Vanessa
by
does
God
such a good
himself.
job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Together, these titles.
I
were the
also
7
think-
heavenly virtues.
That's hard. I think out of the characters that have the neatest backstory and motives, I think her and Lust are very tied up. It's hard picking between the two of them.
So naturally, fallen
Yeah, for
angels
sure.
decided to make their own group to counter us. Pride, greed, gluttony, lust, envy, sloth, and wrath. These titles were known as the 7 deadly sins. Every single sin and virtue.
I'm
had
so
one
excited for
thing in
people to
common,
get to see the
a
new
divine weapon.
the new characters.
And that's my goal.
Yeah,
Getting
me
all
too.
14.
I'm
Well,
really proud of their designs
think
in
I get this
particular.
Yeah, I
But
totally agree.
Why do you need the weapons?
And I'm glad we went back and changed a few things, like what needs design, and because I did make them all Hot Topic characters, and they still are, but they shop at their own local hot topics. They have a few different things in stock. Then like
this is like mom and pop hot topic.
The world is dying.
yeah.
Oh, he said it. He said the thing.
He said the thing.
He said the thing. Oh my gosh.
Virtues, we did something that we didn't know the consequences of. Our actions messed with the natural state of the world, and soon, no human, plant, or animal will be able to reproduce.
You said soon. How long do we have?
I don't know. It could be today or a couple decades from now, but I won't let it come to that. I have a plan.
He has a plan.
If we collect all 14 divine weapons and use them in a ritual, it should fix things.
That's easy then. Just go ask them for their weapons.
I will say, it is interesting that during this scene there's a particular line used that no one's called into question yet.
Sure, it may suck to lose it, but it's better
Which
than
one
the
are you?
world dying.
Oh, can you not say without spoilers?
I can say everyone and not to give any spoilers or confirm or deny, but Ashton says it should fix things, and everyone's like, it's funny because
sure.
a lot of
solution.
Well, it's just funny because a lot of people distrust him, but still take that as fact, and I thought that's funny.
Here's the thing.
That is funny.
We are
I do
deeply
think that's
connected to our
pretty
weapons.
ironic.
It's like he may be evil, but he's right. He's right about it.
He's right about this one thing. I promise.
Yeah.
Destroying
Look
a
at that
sin or
face.
a
I
virtue's
believe him.
weapon will most
Just
likely
want
kill
to
them.
squish his curse mark cheeks.
I see the issue then.
His cursed
Pride
cheeks
guys
just
is
aw.
Not the
My-
cursed
my-
cheeks.
No.
He is.
Don't take
If
that out of
only he
context.
was
The
in
internet
our
takes
system,
it out of
I would
context.
say
there's-
his number is around 20,000.
There's gonna be one fan art of it, I'm sure.
Although some sins and virtues
I'm
are even stronger
positive.
than that.
20,000? That's insane!
That's why I wanted to get this curse mark off.
Although,
so I could handle
if
this on
anyone's
my own.
gonna draw like an Our Dying World character throwing it back and doing the thug shaker, it'd be Riker first, without a doubt.
Yeah, that's
But
that's
after
very
fighting
true.
with
On the official
I
poll,
realize it's not
he was
the only
voted of
option.
having the best ability to
With
throw
your
it
help,
back, so.
We can do this.
And I'm not even kidding
is
about
true.
that. It's true.
It is a
Actually
very
happened.
official poll.
I'm glad you have
Super
faith in us, but
official.
I don't think there's anything we could do against a guy like that.
I hate to
I think
say it,
Ashton
but
could do it, but he would cry.
There's just no
He's like, if this is what this is what it takes.
Right now, yes, but
And
with some
Shemp would
training
have
and
so
some
much
help
fun
from a friend of
voicing
mine,
it,
we
too.
can do this.
Shemp would be first in line to be like, please let him do this.
If you two really want to
Shemp
climb
would
the
like
ranks
pay
of the
to make
Adventurers
Ashton do
Guild,
that.
This is the
Yeah.
best way to do it.
I can't wait for forget finishing the game, like and people seeing the ending. Just the outtakes
It'll be hell.
for all the
The
voice
blooper
actors.
reel that I
Oh,
plan on making. Oh
Yeah.
man,
We'll
as
be
I'm
setting the
editing,
world
I
at the
just get
same
gifted
time.
gems. And then when I'm editing mine, I get outtakes of myself going like, "Damn it, my outtakes are never good. It's just me not being able to fucking read."
No, they're good, guys. She loses it by the end. It's if you actually listen to her recording, you can hear her sanity dip minute by minute.
What do you
Just-
say?
It's a
Are
ticking
you two
clock
good?
and it
Yeah.
drains. It's the
By 45
game
minutes, she's
mechanic
out.
that drains.
Mhm.
Hey, it's a lot to talk to yourself in
This
a
really
small
does
space
help me
in the
move
dark
on.
for a really long time.
No, it's just I remember editing your lines too, and it would be like at first you'd be like, all right, here we go, and like you're like upbeat, you're like, okay, here we go, and then like you'd like mess up, you'd be like, oops, let me try that again, or like but like like at like the first like 1 to 10 minutes, and then as it progresses, and then by the end, like you're having like full on conversations with yourself.
Fair enough. What about you, Max?
Yeah, the things happen in the booth that maybe you should stay in the booth.
No, hey, listen, I failed like starting the recording of this
Well,
like 5 times, so it's just
the
like
world is at stake.
getting into that
How
flow
can I not?
and maintaining it. It's hard.
Just
Mm-hmm.
let me tell someone goodbye first.
Sure thing. We'll stay here in the meantime.
Originally, too, we had a conversation about the one
It shouldn't take too long.
Infamous
to use the
Naruto,
church's waypoint crystal here.
writer quote where he said he can't write women.
Oh,
Speaking of that, early Our Dying World, when Emma
Fun fact.
existed, and
You
was done dirty.
forgot.
I forgot about Emma, and because she was originally just created to be like Max's girlfriend. I forget. There was a specific reason why Max like needed one early on. I forget.
He was like hometown girlfriend. She was like keeping him grounded.
She probably needed to like die
kinda.
or something early on. It was.
Yeah,
bad.
you were gonna kill her.
I was. Oh, yeah, poor Emma.
Yeah, you were. R.I.P.
She can live now, guys. Just play your cards right. Be nice to people.
If.
Yeah, don't get the bad
Maybe.
ending.
Or maybe she's the ruler in the bad ending. You never
True.
know. She is trying to create her own
Wow.
empire.
There is. I hope you remember what happens in the bad ending with Emma though.
Oh no,
Speaking
I
of
do.
it. Yeah. Okay.
I know.
Yes.
I'm just saying that she's on her way to becoming like this giant potions master mogul. Like she's gonna have her own kingdom someday. Trust.
True.
Just
Oh,
trust.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. Obviously this was streamed, but this was recorded ahead of time because unfortunately the best time to stream is around 3 a.m., which would not be good for either Julia or I, so we had to record this earlier. But thank you for everyone who joined. Really appreciate it. Any final closing thoughts, either about Act 2, what people have to look forward to overall, and anything like that?
Just if you thought the story was good before, it's only getting better from here. So, please continue to send us your support. Wishlist the game on Steam. It really does help. And, you know, follow our socials, join our Discord. It's actually been super active recently, which has been so much fun to see. And just to have that community engagement helps us because it helps us know what you like about our game so we can continue to do that, or sometimes what you don't like, which helps us to change the trajectory of certain outcomes and stuff like that. So your feedback is really important to us because we are such a small team. We have better access to that feedback and we can act on it.
Yep, absolutely. We could not have gotten here without all the amazing feedback we've gotten from everyone who streamed it. Wishlist it, back to Kickstarter. It's been incredible. But yes, absolutely, wishlist the game, and if you can, get others to wishlist it. It's a big ask, I know. A lot of people don't like to wishlist games, just statistically on Steam, but that is what promotes the game and gets it on Steam's radar. So the goal is around 7,000 to 10,000. We are not close, but that is what the Steam Next Fest is for, and that's why we are ramping up, finishing up Act 2, and promoting it a lot more. No release date yet, but we are getting closer, so obviously follow the socials so you can stay up to date and get the release date immediately when it drops. And yeah, thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Julia, as always, for joining me. And,
of course.
Yeah, that is going to be it. Thank you, everyone who's been following this project for 5 years now, I think. It's been
5 years, yep.
It's been absolutely crazy. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.